Hello. Last week was a bad mental health week. The only footage that I recorded that I really want to show to the world is Ben relocating Alethea, the Argiope spider who came back to visit us. So, please enjoy this. Ben is going to do a spider rescue.
At least he's trying to build a web here. Something. This is some webbing.
No, it's really not a good place for her to do it.
No.
She really wants to hang on.
You think should we put her in the front hedge?
It's probably a good place for her. Can I get a shot of her? Well, she's. Let me get down. Like.
Hold on.
Oh.
She's pretty chill.
Hi, beautiful lady.
She's pretty.
You looking for a place to lay some egg sacs? Let's go find you a good new place to live.
Web all over my hands. Her web is so strong.
Yeah, I bet.
So strong. Shot over here where our previous spider friend used to live. Okay.
It's good for catching bugs. Plus, we'll feed you.
Yeah, we will.
So you can grow up big and strong.
Yeah.
We're just looking at spiders. Let's talk Preptober. For those of you who don't know, November is National Novel Writing Month, or NaNoWriMo, in which people around the world commit to writing 50,000 words on some kind of creative project. Traditionally, it's a novel, but it can be lots of things. October becomes Preptober, in which you get ready for NaNoWriMo. I sat down and made a list of all the things that I need to do before I feel ready to do NaNoWriMo. Some of these things are story things, like I only have the vaguest sense of my antagonist so far, and I really need to, like, flesh that out. Sorry, I just woke up. So yeah, I've got some characters I need to map out still. I need to figure out exactly where I want the book to end in terms of the timeline. Some of it is not necessarily related to the story, but stuff that needs to get done to make sure that I can, like, do NaNoWriMo. Like, you know, figuring out scheduling writing time and setting up some little rewards for myself along the way. figuring out exactly what my goals are. After watching Becca C. Smith's video on the difficulty of finishing, I think that alongside having the 50,000 word goal, I want to be able to say that I have a draft that goes from beginning to end. Even if some of the scenes are just a couple of sentences telling me what's going to be in that scene, or if there are big gaps, I just want something that's going to go all the way from beginning to end. And so I'm thinking about taking a week per act to start off with. So for the first week of NaNoWriMo, I'll work on the first act. For the second week, I'll work on the second act. And for the third week, I'll work on the third act. And then I'll take whatever time is left to go back and fill in gaps. One of the things that I found out for last year's Nano is I really have to finish before Thanksgiving. We have family that comes and visits for that weekend, and so at that point, between the grading that I know I will have to do, that I deliberately planned to have to do over Thanksgiving, and family visiting, those last 5 days of the month are not days that I get a lot done. So I think that going ahead and planning out, working on different sections of it for different weeks, and then having the last 5 days of the month to try to fill in as many gaps as possible, I think is going to be a good plan. Another thing that I need to do is I need a soundtrack. I've mentioned before how much I like doing about 45-minute sprints. For a while, one of the reasons I found out I really like writing to Cannonball Adderley's Something Else album is it was the soundtrack, basically, for a project I was working on. Last year's Nano project that I did was very heavily Nirvana influenced, and Sonic Youth as well. So I had a soundtrack for that was Nirvana and Sonic Youth. So I've been trying to figure out, the soundtrack for Matoikos. It hasn't been easy. I'm working on it. It's still early in the month. I have time. I've still been struggling with timeline stuff, figuring out some kind of useful way to represent to myself timeline. And I finally figured out that a big part of the problem is that in all of the things that I've been using to represent all of the time, I've been mapping it onto a contemporary calendar, and then I get confused. So what I've done so far to try to fix that is I went through and it's almost like I set up a bullet journal thing for each month. So I've got each day listed. I've got the festivals listed here, and then I've got some things where this was me labeling these are little stickies with important events that I think are going to go on these days, but I wanted to be able to move them around just to be sure. So I think this is gonna work a lot better for me in terms of keeping up with my timeline and what's happening when, especially with the festivals, because the festivals do play a key role in what is happening when. One of the things that's kind of been a challenge is that I'm really working hard to use kind of traditional noir story beats. And one of the things about the traditional noir stories of post-World War II is that time doesn't matter. So we get this sense of the PI solving the case within a week, but also that the PI enters into this work time in which the sense of passing days doesn't seem to be a factor. And the particular day of the week it is, for instance, doesn't matter in terms of what they can and can't do. My story is spread out over the course of a year, which is one of the ways that I am kind of breaking that traditional noir story structure. And I'm thinking about that in particular because of the way that information can and can't travel. But it also means that I'm just having to manage time in a very different way than I would have if I were following a traditional noir story pattern. But that's cool. It's a challenge. I'm wearing my bee sweater. I got this in Sweden. I have been waiting since I got it in the summer for it to finally be an appropriate temperature to wear it, and it is, and now I am just going to wear it for the rest of fall. You will see me in nothing else. Today I go to campus to do conferences. This is my last day of conferences with this round, which means it is my busiest day of conferences because of everyone who waited until the last minute to try to get their conference in. So it's going to be a very densely packed day of talking to students. I like doing conferences. It's productive to sit down and talk with everyone. It's also exhausting and sometimes frustrating when students aren't prepared or don't show up or whatever else. It's just kind of frustrating. Since I finished grading project 1, I don't have anything coming in to be graded again until Monday. So I need to get caught up on grading some homeworks and other smaller activities that have not gotten taken care of because I was too busy on papers. So that's the plan for today, is to do conferences and try to get caught up on some of that homework. And then, I don't know, other stuff. We'll see. I'm home from campus. Conferences were kind of rough. Last day of conferences is always the worst because not only does everybody want a conference slot on the last day, I also get all of the people who are emailing me about how they forgot to sign up and now it's too late and can I possibly meet with them, and it's just exhausting to deal with that many emails. I'm just gonna sit out here in the lovely, finally somewhat autumnal weather and chill. Also, Hesty is out here. Hi, Hestia. Catch some tasty bugs. So it's Wednesday. I am back home from teaching. I'm very tired. It's been a very tiring week, and I'm also still trying to kind of recover from my bad mental health week last week. So I have generalized anxiety disorder. Don't I, Harley? So I have generalized anxiety disorder, which is similar to other anxiety disorders in terms of the kind of symptoms that I have, but is different from other anxiety disorders in that those symptoms are not necessarily caused by any one specific thing, hence generalized anxiety disorder. Basically, there are lots and lots of things that can trigger anxiety for me, and it's more often based on my kind of general state of health and frame of mind at the time, and then these like broad possible categories of things. So things that have triggered anxiety attacks for me in the past include the housing market, the possibility of aliens, and checking my bank account, answering emails, the possibility of committing to my husband, lots of things. So last week I was in one of these periods of time where I was getting unhealthy. I had a lot of work stuff going on with papers to grade and conferences and everything. And I just got to a point where I moved from just being stressed out to actually having anxiety attacks. I tried to do some self-care over the weekend, which involved actually like getting my work done, because I knew that not getting my work done was just going to make me more anxious. But it also included things like a nice long walk around the neighborhood to look for different kinds of animals and insects and other cool things. Watched Harry Potter movies, just, other nice, relaxing things. This week I am feeling better overall, but I'm kind of experiencing it's like environmental anxiety, I guess. And what I mean by that is it's anxiety tied to being in a very specific place. I just have had trouble being in my office because my office is a place where students might come and ask me questions, or I have to answer emails or whatever else. And it is a place where I am having my energy drained, and it's not necessarily a physically uncomfortable space, but it is not a physically comfortable space either. And so I have found being in my office the last few days to just be really, it makes me feel high anxiety. Not quite to the point of like having anxiety attacks again, but just kind of high anxiety. And then as soon as I leave and walk home and get home, I am tired, but I'm not feeling anxious in the same way. I talk a lot about my mental health. I'm pretty open about it because, part of it is about reducing stigma and raising awareness and all of that. And part of it is that I'm in a situation where I'm comfortable talking about it, and also that I don't fear any kind of repercussions for it. I'm in a workplace where it's friendlier than a lot of other spaces to mental health issues and understanding that, mental illness is an illness. I've also, I was diagnosed when I was 18, so I've had over a decade now to come to terms with the fact that I have a chronic condition. And I have been on medication for a good portion of that time, and I find that being on that medication keeps me happy and healthy, or happier and healthier, I guess I would say, rather than the kind of state I would be in without it. I think it's important to just talk about what daily life is like sometimes when you're living with a chronic health condition, especially a chronic mental health condition, because we haven't talked about those as much. So this has been your regular dose of understanding life with a mental health condition, namely generalized anxiety disorder. In other news, I got a very exciting thing in the mail. This book on the Battle of Argasune came today. This is by Deborah Hamill. I had started reading her book on the smashing of the Herms, which it's a booklet. It's not quite a book, it's a booklet. But I started reading that earlier today. I'm probably going to finish it later today, honestly. And that has been really interesting. And I'm really excited to now have her book on the Battle of Argasune, which I will probably read very quickly as part of my Preptober stuff. It's pretty short. It's, maybe 100 pages. Yeah, it's right around 100 pages. That's really exciting. And it's nice to feel excited about the Matoy Ghost Project again, because I was not feeling excited about it last week at all. I was feeling completely daunted and hopeless about it. And this week I feel better. I also have a 3-day weekend coming up, so I'm hoping to take that time to do what I want to do, because I don't have any grading. I don't have any major assignments to grade right now. I'm getting them. I'm getting a set of papers on Monday and a set of papers on Wednesday. But before then, I get a 3-day weekend, because this is our fall break-ish thing, so I get Friday off, and I just want to do things for me, because fuck capitalism. So today I'm doing a peer observation of a fellow instructor, We do these well, it's like part making sure that the people that are teaching classes aren't complete idiots, which rarely happens, but also as a form of assessment and a way to help faculty members continue to grow and develop as teachers, and also because I get lots of like useful ideas out of watching other people teach things. So I am getting ready to go to campus to do that, which is exciting. And then I have a ton of things that I would like to get done today so that I can take my 3-day weekend and do whatever I want. Alright, well, I'm back from doing stuff on campus, doing the observation. It was great. It's actually going to be really helpful because the person I was observing is teaching stuff that I'm actually going to be teaching next week. So I got to see her do it first, which was kind of great. The problem is that this to-do list, y'all, is not getting any shorter, and I gotta get to it. Are you ever suddenly incredibly angry that you don't have a pet tiny owl? Because I am. I'm very angry. This is exactly what I need while I'm trying to work. Great. Perfect. Good morning. It's Friday. So as you all are probably aware by now, normally on a day off like this I would stay in my pajamas until 2 or 3 in the afternoon, but I got so excited about the weather today that I went ahead and got dressed because I could get dressed in a sweater. It's so exciting. The high today is supposed to be like 55. I love it. This is a sweater that I made for myself last year, and it's already got a nice cozy worn-in feeling, and I'm just so happy to be wearing it. So let's talk about mental health. We've been talking about mental health a lot during this vlog because I had such a bad mental health week last week. One of the ways that my mental health intersects with my writing is that one of the things I do to cope with periods of stress or bad mental health is I read and write fan fiction. I like to go back to stories that are really, really familiar to me. I will binge watch Rick and Morty for the 50th time, or especially during the fall, if I have bad mental health stuff going on, I want to rewatch Harry Potter. So I want to return to something familiar and kind of obsess over it and escape a little bit from regular life, and I do that a lot of the times through fan fiction. So even though I haven't been writing on Matoikos for the last couple of weeks, I have still been writing. I actually picked up my NaNoWriMo project from last year and have been kind of picking away at it just because I felt like it. I also actually realized that project, which I was trying to make one big thing that jumped around in time a lot, is really a trilogy that I was trying to cram into one story. It was just a bad idea all around, but that's what I've been up to in terms of writing. And if you're gonna judge me for that, you can fuck off. So I worked through a few pages of the Preptober workbook. I'm doing mine digital because specifically I went through setting goals and thinking about my possible writing routine, and actually it was really helpful to sit down and think about what days I am actually going to be able to work and planning my daily word count accordingly. I want to have a full draft of the story, even if some of the scenes are just a few sentences saying what's in the scene. So I went ahead and divided up my writing days into first act, second act, third act, and gap time. I'm gonna take 5 days, the first 5 days of writing, to work on Act 1 because I already have some of Act 1 written. And then I've got another 9 days for Act 2, 7 days for Act 3, and then the last week of November is just going to be for going back and filling in gaps. Hopefully by the end of this, I will actually have a draft that goes from beginning to end, and I'll be really happy about that. I did go ahead and plan in Saturdays off because I'm defensive of my Saturdays, and I wanted that to be time where I can write if I feel like it, but if I don't feel like it, I can just take time off. I planned that in. I also tried to plan ahead for the Thanksgiving holiday. My in-laws come to visit us for Thanksgiving, and so that's not good writing time for me. According to the schedule, rather than the recommended 1,667 words, I'm gonna try to get 2,000 words a day for my writing days. Last Nano, I hit 50,000 words probably around the 24th or 25th, I feel like. I don't know, we'll see. This is gonna be a completely different Nano experience because last year I was writing fan fiction and this year I'm writing original fiction, and I'm having to come up with everything instead of having part of the work already done for me. So, but I feel good about this. This feels doable in a way that it didn't feel necessarily before I sat down and did this. So thanks, Natalia Lee. Now I'm gonna try to change the filters and clean the filters in our HVAC thing. So where are we going, Ben?
We're going to Totally Park to eat food at the Art Walk.
Yeah.
For a second, I just told you.
I just told you where we're going. God. So Ben came home right as I finished watching Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And now we're gonna go to the art walk.
You're always vlogging.
You all hungry? Ben's gonna feed you. No, he's not.
Fast enough. To get some footage of me about to put the food down.
Oh, I totally will.
You guys want food? You want food? Soup. You want this? You do? You don't? Do you want the food? Do you want the food? Do you want this food? Soup, do you want the food? Soup, do you want the food? You want the food? I think they want the food.
It's 7:30 on a Saturday night, and Ben and I have been arguing about which Hogwarts house various philosophers throughout history would have been in. I think Aristotle would have been a Slytherin. Ben thinks he's a Ravenclaw. Hello, it's Sunday. This week, because of it being Alien's 40th anniversary, Alien, the 1979 movie, starring Sigourney Weaver as Ellen Ripley, directed by Ridley Scott. So it's the 40th anniversary of Alien, and TCM has been sponsoring screenings at select theaters around the country, and so our local theater happened to be one of those. So today Ben and I went and saw Alien in theaters. It was amazing. We watch Alien every year during October when we watch scary movies because it continues to be a terrifying movie. And I have a huge crush on Ellen Ripley. So that was what we did this afternoon. It was great. I may have had to look away from the screen quite a few times, and I held Ben's hand through a significant portion of the movie. So now I need to prep for this upcoming teaching week. This is gonna be a normal teaching week, the first normal teaching week in terms of like what times I'm in the classroom and everything, for 2 weeks now. So I need to be ready to go. In particular, this week my tech writers are starting a group project, and so one of the things that I need to get prepared for them is some stuff about negotiating conflict in groups and figuring out, you know, like how to work together. So that is some of the stuff that I'm going to be preparing. Finished prepping for class. I'll see how it goes. It'll be fine. It's good. I think I'm just feeling a little nervous about trying to get back into the swing of things after having bad mental health time. But I feel like if we have learned anything over the course of the last couple of weeks, or me over the course of the last couple of weeks, and you over the course of the last week of me telling you about the last couple of weeks, is that it's really important to take care of yourself and to regularly check in with yourself. So do what you gotta do to keep yourself healthy, and I'll continue doing that too. I'm Stephanie Weaver. This has been weaverbosity.
Watch out, the world's behind you. There's always someone around you who will call. It's nothing at all.